You're welcome back to the Arise interview with me, Christian Ogodo. We're live in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Thanks for staying with us. As you may have heard, both the APC National Working Committee and the Appeals Committee have upheld the disqualification of Governor Godwin Obaseki as a candidate of the party's governorship election ticket. Obaseki was disqualified by the party's screening committee over alleged discrepancies in his personal and academic record. He said he will not appeal the decision, but the appeals committee upheld his disqualification even without any appeal brought before them. The committee said it agreed with the screening committee's position that it could not vouch for the authenticity of the NYSC certificate presented by Governor Obaseki. And for more on this, I've now been joined by Barrister Daniel Bwala, who is the secretary of the just concluded APC Screening Appeal Committee of the Edo governorship primaries election.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks very much, Mr. Daniel. Is this Daniel coming to judgment over Obaseki? How come at the 11th hour, this time of the day, did the APC realize that their governor, their sitting governor, who is seeking re-election, is not qualified or does not have the qualifications to contest this election or the primaries?
Well, thank you for having me. I do not think that it is a case of realizing at the 11th hour. It is a case of being careful now, knowing that in Bayelsa, APC lost purely on the basis of a decision of court on inconsistency associated with a document of a deputy governor, which ordinarily should not have affected the elections because it was free and fair, and the candidate was the governor. But the Supreme Court said the governor and the deputy are in a joint ticket, and whatever happens to the deputy will affect the governor. So traditionally, APC as a party, to the best of my knowledge, have not been given so much a premium to screening process, so to speak, because to me it is like a formality. There is this belief that whoever comes to vie for a political post and is applying to a political party must have met the requirement. So oftentimes in the past, they will just meet and then send document to the screening committee without having to, at the NWC level, scrutinize it. So
can I ask you one question?
Go ahead.
In 2016,
right,
he was screened, was he not, Governor Obaseki?
Yes, he was.
He met the requirements then?
He was screened.
It was the same certificate he presented?
No, so that's the problem. So that's why I'm here. In 2016, he presented a certificate. The certificate he presented in 2016 had the signature of the Vice Chancellor, the signature of the Registrar, and on the left side there is a date which appears to be similar to the certificate that you see with other graduates of the institution. However, in 2020...
In 2016, it was accepted.
Yes, in 2016, it went through because there is a presumption that if you tender a document that on the face value, there is no additional or similar document that can be contrasted to arrive at the conclusion where there is inconsistency, there is a presumption of regularity. And the presumption of regularity at the time was that it was a proper certificate. In 2020, only himself knows, he presented another certificate.
Additional?
Additional. And it is the same.
Which is this certificate now? Because what the screening committee said he lacked, or not lack now,
right,
was the spelling of his name, the last letter, Obaseki. No. Whether it's an I or his NYSC certificate.
Again, yes, so you're missing it.
Yes, the NYSC certificate, Obaseki, whether it's an I or an E.
Right.
Why?
No, whether it's an I or an E. No. It's not whether it's an I or an E.
Yeah.
It is Obasek. There is no concluding part of the letter.
Is what I'm saying. Did you write? Did the screening committee writes to the NYSC first
Right.
to verify
So
if this certificate was issued to the holder of the certificate.
So here is the deal. The guidelines of the party states that it is the duty of the party who is applying to produce proper document. It is not the duty of the committee to write to confirm.
The committee is a creation of the party.
Yes.
So
ordinarily, I will take you through that. Ordinarily, the only time you talk about checking is when there is inconsistency. Assuming, without considering, that the NYSC certificate was proper, then the natural assumption is that all other documents accompanying the application should as well be Obaseki. The only reason why Obaseki became a facting issue is because there are other documents, in fact, all other documents suggesting the name is Obaseki. Now, in law, when you have this kind of anomaly, the remedy that you have is that you go and swear to an oath.
An affidavit, yeah.
Which is what he did not do. So the committee can't do the work for him. But I think that you have jumped from the degree certificate to the NYSC certificate.
Tell us more about the degree certificate, because I mean, the University of Ibadan cleared him that he was just student and a graduate of the University of Ibadan.
So the committee must work with the evidence of what is before it, not what is announced in the TV. And second of all, the procedure for authenticating or validating a certificate is not for the university to announce through TV or on social media that he graduated. Because how then can you judge whether the author of that publication is saying the right thing? And that is why in law, everything else that all applicants had to produce before the committee was produced under oath. The idea behind producing a document under oath is that what you're saying should be considered as the truth, and if it turns out to be untrue, then there is liability on your part. And then, let's say worst case scenario, if the institution had written and certified a document and they hand it to him to appear before the committee, there may be a probative value that can be put to it. But that's not even the point. Even if the school had written, the point is that you have before you as a committee two certificates belonging to the same person purported to have been issued by the same university, but there is a consistency with it. In law, where there is inconsistency in that kind of document, it becomes difficult for you to arrive at the genuineness of either of the two. And remember, one may be true. I'm just giving an instance, but the inconsistency has now created a doubt that will take away your capacity to arrive at a just conclusion in that matter. Now, people have, sort of settled on this certificate. There are more than 9 things that each of which has disqualified him. And I think that that's why I'm here to tell you, because, for example, I was not in the screening committee, right? But when the screening committee passed their verdict, what we saw in the media was that he said he was not going to appeal because as at the time judgment was given or the decision was handed down to, it was just 2 hours before the closure of the appeal. That is a fallacy, because as the secretary of the committee, we sent out information to all the applicants that were available for the appeal from the same day that the decision was handed. And one other applicant, who then became appellant by name Christopher Ogoinwe, he appeared before us on the same day that Obaseki was assuming it has closed and could not conclude. He had to come the next day. So we were available. But what may have happened to him was, from what I'm hearing, somebody came on Arise TV. After the interview, they said he went back to Benin. So again, it becomes a problem. But we sat down, pursuant to the powers that we have within the guidelines, and said, if a party stated that I could not appear before the committee because I didn't think judgment was going to be given, or rather justice was going to be done to it, it behoves of us as an appeal committee to look at the decision of the screening committee to see whether or not they actually did justice or he was wounded. So, and portions to that power, we then reviewed the decision of the screening committee. And once we started doing that, we
Even though he did not appear before your appeals committee, why did you have to go ahead and say he remains disqualified?
No.
The man has seen it that a key character and player in this saga is going to, at the end of the day, be a judge advocate in a matter that concerns him.
That is a fallacy.
Would you Do you think sincerely he should have appeared in
Yes.
such a situation?
Because someone
where
did.
a man says, this is the High Court, this is the Appeal Court, and I am the Supreme Court?
No, he never said I am the Supreme Court. He said, and which is a fact, in all political parties anyway, so you don't
The chairman
assume.
is the Supreme Court.
Not the chairman. So that's again the issue. The screening committee, he said, can be considered as the High Court. The screening appeal committee is the appellate court, that's Court of Appeal. And the National Working Committee, which comprise of party stakeholders from all the geopolitical
Which he
zones,
heads as chairman.
which he heads as chairman. But
is
it
the
is
Supreme Court.
But yes,
would he have excused himself from taking a decision if the decision had gotten to
he does
table?
not have to be out of the panel for a just determination of the matter to have been entered. The reason is because we have seen in the past, on many occasions, decision was reached by NWC which was not in the direction he wanted. So let us show some degree of respect to the other members of NWC. The fact in issue, in my discipline of law, and as a lawyer over time representing clients, what we know is that sometimes when a party knows he has a weak case, he will explore other means of whooping sentiment around it. So he can, for example, invade the media space and see if you can change the narrative or change the perception in the hope that that way you can weigh whether justly or unjustly on the arbiter, the judge.
Has the narrative not changed now?
Has the
narrative not changed? I mean, in public opinion?
No. He's, to the best of my knowledge, from what I have been reading on social media, people are even saying that it is only at this time that they realize the party can stand up to truth, because they are watching to see if the party, in spite of the decision in Bayelsa, can still go ahead to do the contrary. Now let me tell you this. You see, if I have an issue with you as a person and you're heading a committee, but I believe in the strength of my case, it doesn't matter if you're heading it or not. In presidential election, you remember PDP came up with a preliminary objection?
I would just put you on a pause there, Bwala, so that we take some messages. You're still watching the Arise interview. We've got plenty more still ahead. Stay with us. You're welcome back to the Arise interview with me, Christian Ogodo. We're live in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. And I say have with me Barrister Daniel Bwala. He's the Secretary of the Appeals Committee of the All Progressives Congress that upheld the disqualification of Governor Godwin Obaseki from contesting the party's primaries. Now, you were on a narrative of buttressing your points further before we went on break. You want to continue quickly on that, sir?
So, Godwin Obaseki presented a couple of documents. So I will take you on one again. He presented what appears to be like an A-level testimonial, right? The testimonial had no letterhead, and it stated that he finished in 1975, right? Meanwhile, in his statement on oath at the High Court, that he deposed at the High Court, he said as soon as he finished secondary school, he proceeded immediately. As soon as he finished in 1973, he proceeded immediately to University of Ibadan, where he graduated in 1976. One of the other certificates that he brought indicated he graduated in 1979. And if I have to lay credence to what you're talking about, the alumni or the institution also said 1979. But in his statement on oath, he said 1976. Secondly, he claimed to have gone to this college. That is this college he said he went to.
Institute of Continuing Education in
right,
Benin.
Which he said he graduated in 1975. So if in your statement on oath you said he went to the university in 73 and finished in 76, and then you have evidence of another paper saying you graduated in that institution in 1975, then it begs the question whether at that time you could be attending two schools in two different cities at the same time. So then of course, Article 21 of the party says that when a party is aggrieved with any decision, he must exhaust all of the internal mechanism for dispute resolution in the party before he goes to the court. Failing to do that, he stands expelled. That is is even worse than disqualified.
So Governor Obaseki is expelled now by your party?
If we are to take literally what the constitution of the party says, it gives no discretion to the party to have a resolution as to whether or not to expel him. The constitution says he stands expelled, but that is up to them. But I'm just telling you what the law said, and he instituted an action. Then, intriguing enough, when you talk about problems, when all efforts were made to reconcile them, the parties, Governor Godwin Obaseki went to court and obtained every order of court conceivable to restrain all parties. First of all, the president asked to intervene. He ignored the intervention of the president. The elders forum were constituted to go and intervene. He got order against them, restraining them. The governors forum was talking about gathering to go and intervene. He got order restraining them. The Senate leadership wanted to intervene. He got order from court restraining them. The House of Rep wanted to intervene. He got orders restraining them. These 5 orders are subsisting as we speak now. So it is even illegal, or it will amount to contempt of the court for any of these parties to proceed to even talk about reconciling the parties. And these orders were obtained at his own instance, and the orders have not been vacated. Then of course, we have talked about the issue of NYSC certificate. So, and there are many other issues surrounding that. Now, that was the premise on which he was disqualified. And when it came on appeal, we felt we need to look into it and see if indeed the decision of that committee was proper. And on appeal, we saw that in fact, even the committee, the screening committee, although they delivered a verdict disqualifying him, but there were some salient parts that they glozed over it. They did not really deal with the issue, especially with respect to the certificate, because their finding was that although there are discrepancies with his documents, but he has not taken the step to rectify them.
Bwala, you are a lawyer. Let
Right.
me ask you in very simple terms. If, as an employer of labor,
Right.
an applicant brings his certificate to you, how do you double check to make sure that those certificates are genuine?
The answer is simple. As an employer of labor, 2 things are in your favor. Number 1, the control of the timing of the employment. And number 2, the determination of whether to take that person or not. In the case of a political party and political process...
No. I want a determination
No,
of the credentials presented to you.
That's the point.
Who, is it not you that is supposed to write to the various, institutions, agencies or organs that a prospective or an applicant has presented a certificate from to you to verify?
So what in our practice...
So at what level did the screening committee verify these papers without writing formally to these institutions?
So again, that's the point I was trying to make, which you got it wrong. You act as an employer. You cannot, in my discipline of law, we don't talk in isolation. We talk in perspective, because we make argument in the hope that we can persuade the judge. In this case, you cannot just stricto sensu. You see, what you're using now is called, you're using, what's this word? When you're using something other than the fact of the matter.
This is not argumentum.
No. I'm saying that you are giving an abstract.
I'm giving you an analogy.
So this is the answer.
It's an analogy.
So this is the answer.
Yeah.
In the case of an employer, he has the time. You bring in application, he can determine it today, or he can wait until he verifies from an institution, right? However long it takes before he makes a decision on you. In the case of a political party, it is governed by guidelines. Everything is timed. And there is a limitation of time within which candidates who are vying for post must come, screening must be done, appeal must be determined, NWC must ratify or overrule, and then the primaries.
All within 1 week.
So because of that provision, that is why the guidelines of political parties said it is your duty to produce a document that is proper, document that can be believed. The guideline says that the screening committee should make a finding on the face value. It never said the screening committee should go on a journey. That's the point.
Okay, this is obviously Barrister. Like I said earlier in my opening question to you, that it's like a Daniel coming to judgment here. No restitution for Governor Obaseki.
I don't have anything against him. First of all, I'm not from Edo State, and I'm a professional, and we were drafted as professionals. You know, the tradition in the past where they gather politicians. In this case, they brought professors from various disciplines and lawyers from various disciplines. That was the angle from where I came. And so my analysis, my position in respect of the matter must be purely on the basis of law and law alone, but not on sentiment. I don't have anything against him. I wish him well. But the party's constitution is what we must abide by. Unfortunately, he failed.
Chris Ogenwonyi appeared to appeal his disqualification.
Yes, he appealed before us, but we found his appeal as lacking merit because Chris Ogenwonyi had multiple documents, one of which bears the name Chris Ogenwonyi, the other one bears Christopher, the other one bears Christo. And so when it was raised, he did not, and you know in law, like we said, just like the verdict, if he had simply gone to Commissioner for Oath or a notary public, he would have corrected that. That he didn't do. So there are controversies regarding the document. And you know the decision of the court regarding controversy, it was referred to them. It means that the document will not be given the probative value that it is. So when he came before us, he even compounded the thing. That when he appeared, knowing the mistake he made at the screening level, that same day he authorized someone to go to, what do you call it, notary public, and then do what he could have done a long time ago. And then brought it in the hope that he would persuade the appeal committee. What we told him was, both in law, in fact, the committee made a decision based on documents that were presented to them. If this document you're bringing to us was with them, the decision may have been the other way. So having decided without this document, you cannot come with this, introduce this document as a new document to overrule a decision. And on the premise of that, we upheld the decision.
But how do you react to, you know, the claim by some people that it's all in a way to pave the way for Yamu to fly the flag of the APC as, you know, being puppeted by the chairman of the party?
But 3 people who scaled through, 3 people were cleared. And to the best of my knowledge, these 3 individuals that are cleared are all going to the primaries. The primaries is next week. So it defeats the narrative as well. But you see, in life, people can always have that thinking. I'm not suggesting the thinking is right or wrong. I work with facts. I work with evidence.
Thanks so very much. What a place to put a final full stop to the conversation and the narrative. Barrister Daniel Bwala, Secretary of the Appeals Committee of the governorship election or primaries in Edo State. Thanks for being with us on the Arise interview.
My pleasure as always.
Well, that's it for this edition of the Arise interview with me, Christian Nogodo. Do join us again tomorrow from me and the entire team here in Abuja. Goodbye and thanks for watching.